Yo, what is up guys? Ethan here back in another video, and today we return with college football predictions. As today we're going to be talking about the Baylor Bears. If you haven't already, hit that like and subscribe button. I really appreciate it. Now, Baylor had tons of aspirations last year. They were a college football playoff candidate. Of course, as we know, that wasn't the outcome. They ended up playing Ole Miss in the Sugar Bowl and actually beat them. But Baylor, really surprising year and really great year for the Bears last year. Dave Aranda solidified himself as a top 10 to 15 head coach in college football, well, at least in my opinion, at least. But what Dave Aranda did last year with the lack of superstar players on that team is absolutely crazy. And the only guy I can really think of that was only like a superstar level was the safety Jalen Petrie. He was ended up drafted in the second round to the Houston Texans. But Baylor did a phenomenal job last year, and depth was actually a really good thing for them. They do rank 98th in returning offensive production, which is with 58%. 65% of the offensive production returns, which ranks 67th. 51 of the defensive starters return, which is 113th. And they had tons of depth last year, so I think that overall number is a little exaggerated. And personally, I believe in this coaching staff at Baylor, so I don't think Baylor's going to be affected as much as those numbers seem. This offense is kind of a little big of an issue in my opinion, though. You do have a really good quarterback in Blake Shapen, though. Gary Bohannon was your starting quarterback last year, but during spring practice, Dave Aranda was like, okay, Blake Shapen's going to be our quarterback, and Gary Bohannon ended up transferring out of Baylor. So that's a good move on Dave Aranda's part. I really respect that. But Blake Shapen's going to be the guy heading into this year, and I am fully confident he's going to be really good this year. But the main thing is going to be about this running back and wide receivers around him. You lost the majority of your wide receivers last year due to graduation or the NFL draft. The main one being Tyquan Thornton as he went to the NFL, and then also RJ Sneed ended up transferring out of Baylor as he's part of Colorado now. So you did lose your top two wide receivers. But you have Monterey Baldwin coming back, Josh Cameron, Gavin Holmes. That's probably going to be your three wide receivers right there. But you do have a really good tight end in Ben Sims as he returns for his redshirt senior year. In my opinion, he's going to be a top 10 to 15 tight end in college football this year. So don't be surprised if Ben Sims gets a lot of targets from Blake Shapen for this upcoming season. And then with this running back core, you do have Tay McWilliams coming back, and I do think McWilliams is going to be pretty good. But you do lose Abram Smith, your leading running back, so overall, I think this offense is going to take a hit based on how we know Baylor has been for the past few years. They always find talent, and they always get the most out of each and every player. So who's going to break out for Baylor? I got no clue. But I am confident in Dave Aranda to find somebody, and this Baylor team will be A-okay. And before I get on, this offensive line is amazing. It's just experience on top of experience on top of experience. Jacob Gall's coming back. Connor Galvin's coming back. Grant Miller's coming back. Every one of this offensive line is either a graduate senior, a redshirt senior, or a regular senior. Just tons of experience on that offensive line, so I think Blake Shapen is going to have plenty of time in the pocket to get throws off. But like how Baylor was last year, the defense is going to be the main thing about this team. But before I get into any returning production, I have to talk about the main transfer, and that's Jackson Player. He's a graduate senior. He transferred in from Tulsa. He was like All-American in the American Conference. Really good defensive tackle. And him and Siaki Ika, those two at nose tackle or defensive tackle is going to be absolutely amazing. Overall, the front of that defensive line for Baylor is going to be really good this year. It's going to be very hard to run on this team. And with the linebackers, you also got Dylan Doyle coming back for his redshirt senior year. He's going to be good. You got Mac Jones coming back as well. You do have a transfer in Josh White coming in from LSU. I'm going to be curious to see how he does. Garmin Randolph returns. Overall, with this Baylor defense, it's just experience on top of experience. Al Walcott at cornerback, he returns as he was second in the team in interceptions last year with 3. Mark Milton comes back. Chadu Reed comes back. This Baylor defense is just experienced, and I'm confident in Dave Aranda to get every one of these players on this defense to play 100% each and every week, and they're going to give it their all. And this defense is definitely going to be the main part of this Baylor team, kind of like how it was last year. So as we go into this schedule, we're not going to waste your time with that first game. You're going to beat Albany at home. But that next game, that's going to be a big-time non-conference game at BYU. And personally, I have BYU winning this game. Not only is it in Provo, BYU turns tons of production. BYU has a really underrated coach in Kalani Sitake, and overall underrated staff up there for BYU. And this is a night game. That crowd's going to be lit. This is going to be a close game. Dave Aranda is not going to get blown out in this game. But personally, I think BYU has more talent and experience in this game. Baylor may have the upside in the coaching, but with this Provo crowd, it's not going to be enough. BYU is going to win on the road, and that's going to be Baylor's first loss of the year. Next game, you host Texas State. That should be an easy win, as Texas State is one of the worst Sunbelt teams for this upcoming year. That's going to be a win for the Bears. Then you start conference play with a really tough game, as you have to go to Iowa State. I think Baylor's going to want to make a mark early. After you already lost at BYU, if you want to have a chance at college football playoff, you have to win out. And personally, I cannot see Dave Aranda losing whoever it is in their first conference game, and this is sadly going to be Iowa State. Iowa State, like I said in I think the Oklahoma video, is actually one of the teams that is returning less than 50% of their starters for this upcoming season. So it's going to be a little struggle for Iowa State early in the season, in my opinion. So Baylor should win this game. Next game, you host Oklahoma State in a Big 12 championship rematch. And this is going to be a good game either way. But personally, I think Oklahoma State is a tad on the overrated side in this one. But I do think this is actually going to be a low-scoring game, as both defenses will come out to play in this one. Even though Oklahoma State did lose defensive coordinator in Jim Knowles, that defensive line for Oklahoma State is still very, very good. And it's still going to make Oklahoma State win some games. This is just not a game Oklahoma State will win. It's in Waco as well. Baylor will find another way to beat Oklahoma State again. And then you have a bye, and then you have a Thursday night game at West Virginia. And man, this is hard in my opinion, because if I'm not mistaken, Baylor has never beat West Virginia in Morgantown. And this is in Morgantown, by the way. Also, it's a Thursday night game, so upsets are bound to happen. But personally, I think Dave Aranda is going to find a way. He's a way better coach than Neil Brown. I think this Baylor defense is going to be able to slow down JT Daniels, as you really don't have that much of an offensive production there for West Virginia. But I do think Baylor's offense will find a way to win this game for Baylor. And they're going to win for the first time in Morgantown in Baylor history. Next game, you have an easy home conference game versus Kansas. Kansas is going to be a little bit better than people anticipate, but this is just not going to be a Kansas win. Baylor wins at home. Next game, you are at Texas Tech. And personally, I have the Red Raiders upsetting the Bears in this one. And if you're gonna be like, whoa, you got Oklahoma, Texas still, like, no way Baylor loses this one. I'm gonna give my reasoning right now. Texas Tech is an offensive team. Joey McGuire was the associate head coach for Baylor last year. He knows how that Baylor scheme runs. And with the talent on Texas Tech, I think they're going to be able to score on this Bears defense. Even though Texas Tech's defense is not really that good, and Baylor's offense can score. It's in Lubbock. It's a hard place to play. Last year, this game was close. I want to say Baylor won by like 3-4 points at home. Texas Tech is going to upset Baylor and ruin any college football playoff chances they have. Next game, you're at Oklahoma, and after a bad loss on the road at Texas Tech, you're going to go into Norman and beat the Sooners. And if you already saw my Sooners prediction, you already know why. I think Dave Aranda is going to come into this game furious after the result of the last week. Oklahoma at this point is probably going to have a nice little roll after beating Texas or whatever. but I think Baylor is going to go on the road and upset the Sooners. Next game, you host Kansas State, and even though I'm a big fan of Kansas State, I don't see Kansas State going into Waco with Baylor's defense and winning. It's going to be a close game. I think Deuce Vaughn and Adrian Martinez are going to have good games, but I think Baylor's going to survive in this one. Next game, you host TCU, and I'm not a big fan of TCU this year. I think TCU is going to struggle to play defense and have Baylor winning at home. In that final game of the season, you have to go into Austin and play the Longhorns, and man, oh man, this is going to be a good game. This is one of those games where it's going to be the day after Thanksgiving, so anyone's going to be able to watch it on this Friday, and this is going to be a close game. I think Texas is going to pull it out, though. Like I said, for I don't even know how many prediction videos, this is going to be one of those games where it's a 50-50 game, but I always lean towards the home team in these instances, and Texas is the home team, and I'm going to have them winning. Also, I think Texas does have the talent factor. I do think Dave Aranda is going to come prepared in this one. It's going to keep it close. But the Longhorns, with the amount of talent with Quinn Ewers, Bijan Robinson, Xavier Worthy, Isaiah Nayer, etc., they will be able to find a way to beat the Bears. So to end the year, I have Baylor going 9-3 with losses at BYU, an upset loss at Texas Tech, and then at Texas. I think the ceiling of this Baylor team is 11-1. I don't see you going undefeated with the amount of tough games on the road with this schedule, but with the great coaching staff over there in Baylor, you can certainly get a good job done. The floor for this team, with the amount of talent they did lose to the NFL graduation, I think the floor for this team is 8-4. I want to say 9-3 because I'm a huge fan of Dave Aranda, but I'm going to have to say 8-4 for the floor. But I have Baylor going 9-3 for this upcoming season. What is your prediction for the Baylor Bears? Let me know in the comment section below. Like, share, subscribe, push notifications on so you don't miss any other video. And like always, have a good day. Peace out.